morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor and here are this morning's headlines. Nitish Kumar to take oath as Chief Minister of Bihar for the 5th time. Chief Ministers of several states to be present for the event. Rahul Gandhi also expected. Venkaiah Naidu to represent Prime Minister. 7th Pay Panel submits report to Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, suggests a 23.55% hike in pay and allowances of government employees. Home Minister Rajnath Singh meets Chinese Premier Li Keqiang in Beijing. Framework for linking home ministries of two nations agreed upon. Singh raises incursion issue during talks. India says it is ready to facilitate rerouting vehicles carrying drugs and airlifting medical supplies to Nepal. Reiterates there is no blockade from its side. DNA analysis confirms identity of Wednesday's shootout victims. A suspected mastermind of Paris attacks, Abdul Hamid Abaoud, killed. The stage is set for the swearing-in of Nitish Kumar in Patna today. A host of dignitaries, including various chief ministers, will be present at the event. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi is also likely to attend the function. Union Ministers Venkaiah Naidu and Rajiv Pratap Rudy will represent the centre.
Patna's historic Gandhi Maidan decked up for the oath ceremony of Nitish Kumar as Bihar Chief Minister. Slated to start at 2 p.m. on Friday, quite a few political heavyweights are expected to attend the function. They will include Chief Ministers of 9 states and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu, who will represent the Prime Minister.
इस बार तो ऐतिहासिक ये शपथ ग्रहण हो रहा है. देश के नामी गिरामी पर्सनालिटी इसमें आ रही हैं और इस ढंग का शपथ ग्रहण शायद किसी को देखने को नहीं मिला होगा.
ओथ ले रहे हैं, हमारी शुभकामनाएं हैं. उन जो तमाम तरह के वायदे किए हैं, तमाम तरह के सब्ज बाग दिखाए हैं, उन्हें उम्मीद है कि उसको पूरा करने में वो सफल हो.
The tight security includes over 2,000 personnel at the venue. 2 canopy-shaped dais have been erected for the VVIPs and for those under SPG cover. A separate gallery has been set up for women. This will be the 5th time that Nitish Kumar will be sworn in as the Chief Minister. This time, he is leading a government of the Mahagathbandhan that will have ministers from his JDU, the RJD and the Congress. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Malaysia and Singapore between 21st to 24th of November. The Prime Minister will be attending ASEAN, India and 10th East Asia Summit. Ahead of his two-nation tour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said his visit to Malaysia is aimed at building on trade ties with East Asian countries, while the trip to Singapore will focus on attracting investments to India. In Malaysia, Modi will be attending the ASEAN-India Summit on 21st of November and the 10th East Asia Summit the next day. He will be holding talks with his counterpart, Prime Minister Najib Razak, and some other world leaders who are expected to be attending the summit. In Singapore, he will hold deliberations with Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong on ways to enhance bilateral ties on the occasion of commemoration of the 50th anniversary of our diplomatic ties. And in a breakthrough of sorts indicating warming up of coal ties between India and China, a framework has been agreed upon, a mechanism that would for the first time link the home ministries of the two nations. This came after Home Minister Rajnath Singh's meeting with the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang in Beijing yesterday. The two sides also pledged security cooperation and further investment.
In another show of keenness towards steady improvement of relations between India and China, the two neighbors have decided to establish a ministerial mechanism that would, for the first time, link the home ministries of the two nations. The decision came after Home Minister Rajnath Singh's talks with Guo Shenkung, China's public security minister. Singh also called upon Prime Minister Li Keqiang, and both leaders agreed that there was a need to upgrade the security collaboration between New Delhi and Beijing to the next level. India's ambassador to China, Ashok Kantha, said decision was taken on an exchange of information on terrorist activities, terrorist groups and linkages, that is intelligence sharing. Communication lines are to be open to ensure information on aircraft hijacking and hostage situations. The neighbors will also coordinate positions in regional and multilateral forums. The Home Ministers of India and China are to head this mechanism to be assisted by a working level group. This mechanism will cover all issues related to internal security of the two countries, including law enforcement, cyber crimes, terrorism, trans-border crimes and drug trafficking. The first ministerial meeting of this forum is expected in the first half of 2016, when the State Councillor Guo is expected to visit New Delhi. The two sides also discussed counter-terror collaboration at length in the backdrop of the Paris attacks. The Home Minister also voiced India's concern over the recurring incidents of incursions by Chinese troops, while telling Chinese Premier that there should be an effective border management until the two sides reached a settlement over the dispute. Indeed, despite number of problem areas between the two neighbours, there is a growing recognition that New Delhi must cooperate with China where it can. Singh would travel to Shanghai on Saturday, where he would meet the top CPC and security officials and address a meeting of the Indian Association of Shanghai. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to our other neighbour, Nepal, and India has said that it is ready to facilitate rerouting of vehicles carrying drugs and even airlifting medical supplies to the landlocked country. Now, New Delhi has also reiterated that there has been no blockade by India and the problem was political in nature, which has to be resolved by the Nepalese leadership through dialogue. Nepal is facing acute shortage of fuel, medicine and other essential supplies due to the blockade amid protests by Madheshis who are opposed to the new constitution. Hospitals in the country have run out of medicines and they are facing acute shortage of other essential medical supplies as well. Nearly 6,000 trucks are waiting to cross into Nepal at various border crossings. Nepal has been accusing India of imposing the blockade and India has been firmly denying it, saying that truck drivers are concerned for their safety after violent protests in Nepal.
There has been no blockade by India whatsoever. In fact, I think this question should really be put to the government of Nepal and not to the government of India. The issues facing Nepal, as you know, are political in nature. They are internal to Nepal, and the Nepalese leadership has to resolve them through dialogue with the agitating parties.
And back home, the 7th Central Pay Commission has submitted its report to Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. The Commission has recommended a substantial increase of 23.55% in pay and allowances of the government employees. The recommendations are to come into effect from 1st of January next year.
A hefty increase of 23.55% in salary allowances and pension for central government employees and pensioners. A virtual one-rank, one pension for civilians. That's the recommendation of the 7th Pay Commission. Justice A.K. Mathur, head of the Commission, submitted its report to the Finance Minister. The date of implementation of the recommendation is January 1, 2016. 47 lakh central government employees and 52 lakh pensioners will benefit from the move.
The basic pay will start at 18,000. We have abolished the grade pay and the pay band also. So, and the total increase in the basic pay will be 14.27. The speculation of 15 was little off the mark. The maximum pay for a apex scale will be 2,25,000, and the cabinet said the secretary's pay will be about 2,50,000. The pay structure, considering the grade pay structure, the state of employees hereto will be, and the fitment formula will be 2.57 for all. Then the annual increment will be 3%. We have increased the military service pay for defense personnel. That is, today they are getting 6,000. They will get, officer will get 15,500, and for the nursing staff 10,800, and for the non-combatants JCO and combatants 5,200 from 2,000, and for the non-combatants enrolled in Air Force from 1,000 to 3,600.
The report has also recommended a minimum pay of Rs 18,000 per month and a maximum of Rs 2.5 lakh per month. Implementing the recommendation will cost the Exchequer Rs 1.02 lakh crore. The recommendations will also benefit staff of autonomous bodies, universities and public sector units.
This report will impact on currently 47 lakh serving employees of the government of India. it will also impact on 52 lakh pensioners. This also includes the defense personnel. Over and above this, these formulas which are finally accepted by the government also impact on autonomous bodies, universities, central universities, public sector undertakings, etc. The state governments will take their own view as far as this subject is concerned.
Without calling it one rank, one pension, the Pay Commission has recommended a revised pension formulation for the central government employees, including paramilitary personnel as well as for defence staff who have retired before January 1, 2016. The panel has suggested retaining the rate of annual increment at 3%. Recommendations also include enhanced ceiling of gratuity from rupees 10 lakh to rupees 20 lakh and raising the ceiling of gratuity by 25% whenever DA is raised by 50%. The Commission has also recommended abolishing 52 allowances, while another 36 allowances will be subsumed in existing allowances or in newly proposed ones. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now a look at what else is expected to make news today in the day ahead. French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius arrived in India to discuss the launch of an international solar alliance. His trip to India is mostly in his capacity as chair of the upcoming Paris Climate Change Conference in Paris. But according to officials, Fabius will also call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and have a meeting with his counterpart Sushma Swaraj. The state finance ministers will meet today to discuss the model goods and services tax laws and the revenue neutral rate suggested by a sub-panel. The panel might also decide on a new chairman, as Kerala Finance Minister K.M. Mani had last week resigned as the GST panel chief after corruption charges were levelled against him. The stage is set for the 46th International Film Festival of India that unfolds today in Goa. Anil Kapoor will be the chief guest to inaugurate the 11-day film carnival. This year, the film festival will showcase 187 films from 89 countries in World Cinema section, along with the 26 feature and 21 non-feature films in Indian Panorama section. Now the news, media tycoon Peter Mukherjee was arrested by CBI on Thursday in connection with the Sheena Bora murder case. This was after the agency filed a 1,000-page charge sheet against him. He will be produced in a Mumbai court today. Peter's arrest is the fourth in the case after her wife and the prime accused, Indrani Mukherjee, was arrested on 7th of September. Her accomplices in the crime, her former husband Sanjeev Khanna and driver Shyam Rai, are the other two who were arrested earlier. Sources say that there were conflicting elements in the statements of Peter and Indrani Mukherjee, and the arrest was made to establish the truth through custodial interrogation. 24-year-old Sheena Bora was allegedly strangled in April 2012. The murder remained undiscovered for 3 long years. Time for a very short break here. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Just like Darjeeling tea produced in India, protected in India, or Burgundy or any other such Scotch whiskey is protected, we have to protect Basmati in India. There is a provision called geographical indication, which is what the Government of India is now trying to work out. The Basmati brand which India has is going to be lost if we don't regulate this. So in the interest of the country and in public interest, we have to protect it. Basmati rice is one which once somebody consumes and likes it, will never drop it.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Prabhu, Joint Director at IARI Delhi, only on Rajya Sabha Television.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back now. On the 98th birth anniversary of Indira Gandhi, the top leadership of the Congress criticized the BJP's leadership, while former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh called the economic policies of the NDA directionless. Vice President Rahul Gandhi challenged it to prove the allegations levelled against him.
मोदी जी आपकी सरकार है, आपके पास एजेंसियां हैं, अब ले इन एजेंसियों को मेरे ऊपर इन्वेस्टिगेशन करो और 6 महीने के अंदर अगर आपको कुछ मिले मुझे बंद करो। ये जो आप कचरा अपने चमचों से मेरे ऊपर फेंकाते हो, मेरे परिवार के ऊपर आप सालों से फेंक रहे हो। अब आप ऑपोजिशन में नहीं हो, अब आप सरकार में हो। 56 इंची छाती निकालो, एजेंसियां लगाओ मेरे पीछे और मुझे बंद करो अगर मैंने कुछ गलत किया है।
The Congress Vice President choosing the 98th birth anniversary of his grandmother and former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi to respond to the recent allegations against him. Challenging the ruling party to prove their charges, Rahul didn't spare even the RSS, the parent organization of the BJP, equating it with the banned militant outfit Simmi.
एक तरफ आरएसएस के लोग, दूसरे तरफ सिम्मी के लोग लड़ाई कराते, दंगा कराते, हिंदुस्तानियों को मरवाते हैं और बीच में कांग्रेस पार्टी जोड़ने का काम करती है।
Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh opened yet another front against the government. Inaugurating the day-long event of the youth wing of Congress, he questioned the economic policies of the NDA government.
We should today go and tell the country the harmful consequences of Modi government having done away with the planning commission. Today, the economic policies of the country have no sense of direction.
Congress President Sonia Gandhi asked party workers to fight to preserve the secular fabric of the nation.
We must fight to preserve the secular fabric of our nation, and we must never forget that India will not really progress if the weakest and most deprived do not progress.
While the Congress has been raising the issue of communal harmony, questioning the economic policies of the government, it is for the first time that party vice president has responded to personal allegations. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
And the first batch of enclave dwellers from Bangladesh walked into West Bengal after the historic land swap agreement between the two countries. The dwellers from Bangladesh arrived in eastern Cooch, Bihar town through Changrabandha and received a warm welcome by Indian officials. The dwellers will be provided with medical facilities, education facilities and 2 years of free ration among other things. Under the deal, the two countries will swap some 200 tiny enclaves dotted around the border. Their inhabitants have been deprived of public services and living in squalid conditions. India and Bangladesh have signed an agreement to simplify their 4,000-kilometer border and clarify the identities of 52,000 people living in enclaves.
63 erstwhile enclave dwellers have travelled to India and are accommodated in temporary relief camps organized by government of West Bengal. The movement of people who have opted to move to India will be completed in 9 batches up to the 30th of November 2015.
And well, a consumption of 13 billion units of antibiotics has made India the top antibiotic user in the world. This has also contributed in making it the most antibiotic resistant. Recognizing the threat, the World Health is observing this week as the World Antibiotic Awareness Week.
Inappropriate drug use has created a new menace: antibiotic-resistant bacteria. India figures among the top 40 countries confronted with the risk. The resulting infections are not just difficult to treat, but expensive as well.
This is because of 3 very simple reasons. We have a high background level of infectious disease, which is because we have poor water and sanitation, and also vaccination is inadequate. Second is that there is easy access to antibiotics over the counter very easily. The third is actually because our populations are getting wealthier, so they're able to afford the antibiotics. Before they were not able to afford it. But the mix of these 3 is creating a very serious health threat for India, which has to be taken seriously right now.
India is among the top antibiotic users in the world. It consumed 13 billion standard units in 2014. China had a corresponding figure of 10 billion and the US had 7 billion. According to a survey, 76% respondents took antibiotics in the last 6 months. 90% were prescribed by a doctor or nurse. 70% think incorrectly that antibiotics can treat colds and flu. And only 50% know that they should stop taking antibiotics only when they finish the course.
There is definite misuse, irrational use of antibiotics, and that has led to this bacterial resistance. What we are facing today, multi-drug resistance, bacterial resistance, all the bacteria are resistant to most antibiotics today. Hardly any, they are sensitive to 1 or 2. And that sensitivity is shown in the lab. But if that is not effective in clinical scenario, then we are doomed.
Experts say there is an urgent need to address the threat and reduce the excessive use of antibiotics.
Diagnostics are very important because they can tell you what infection it is and also as to what the drug sensitivity profile is. And finally, we must not forget the role of vaccines, which can prevent a lot of the infections. So rather than get an infection and then try and deal with it by using antibiotics, if there is a vaccine preventable disease, the best public health approach is to roll out the vaccination campaigns, which is what the government of India has done.
Due to easy access, an estimated 80% of all antibiotics are used outside hospitals. Even cooked meal has antibiotics, mainly due to a lack of regulations to monitor antibiotic use in food procuring animals. India, incidentally, will be among the top 3 global consumers of such livestock by 2030. This is Anshu J. Singh's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And on to developments in France, where the country has confirmed that the mastermind behind the Paris attacks, Abdelhamid Abaoud, was indeed among the 2 killed in Wednesday's raid in an apartment in Saint Denis. He was identified from his fingerprints. Meanwhile, a manhunt continues for one more suspect who is still on the run. Meanwhile, the French lawmakers have voted to extend the state of emergency for 3 months more in the wake of terror attacks.
It is confirmed one of those killed in French raids at Saint Denis was the ringleader of the Paris attack, Abdelhamid Abaoud. His body was found in the apartment riddled with bullets and shrapnels. He was identified from his fingerprints after thorough forensic investigation. Investigators suspect that he was also behind an attempted attack on a church earlier this year.
Vous le savez sans doute pour la plupart d'entre vous, mais grâce à l'opération hier du RAID et de la BRI, le procureur vient de le confirmer, nous savons aujourd'hui que Abaoud, le cerveau,
one suspect, Salah Abdeslam, is still on the run. Meanwhile, the mother and brother of the woman suicide bomber who blew herself up during police raids have been taken into custody for further investigation. Another suicide bomber who blew himself up outside the French stadium was traced to Greece by his fingerprints, where he was registered as a migrant.
Ce n'est que le 16 novembre dernier, postérieurement aux attentats de Paris, qu'un service de renseignement d'un pays hors d'Europe nous a signalé avoir eu connaissance de sa présence en Grèce.
French PM Manuel Valls warned that the country could face chemical or biological attacks from terror groups. The parliamentarians voted to extend the state of emergency for 3 months. Calling for a global support in fight against terror, France has also submitted a draft resolution at the UN. French President François Hollande will meet the US President Barack Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin later this week to discuss ways and means to fight IS. Meanwhile, the US dismissed reports on Paris-like attacks in the country. Secretary of State John Kerry said it took years to neutralize Al-Qaeda, but now the US and its allies can neutralize IS much faster.
We always said it will take time. We began our fight against Al-Qaeda in 2001. And it took us quite a few years before we were able to eliminate Osama bin Laden and the top leadership and neutralize them as an effective force. We hope to do Daesh much faster than that.
The deadly terror attacks have sent shockwaves across Europe, especially at a time when the refugee crisis is spiraling out of control. Russia meanwhile seized the opportunity to reiterate that the priority in Syria must be to fight against the Islamic State and not to topple President Bashar al-Assad. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And a look at other stories making news across the globe in World Wrap. At least 5 people were killed in 2 alleged Palestinian attacks in the West Bank. In one of the attacks, a knife-wielding man was fatally stabbed 2 Israeli men and seriously injured a third. In a separate incident, 3 Palestinians allegedly opened fire on an Israeli car, killing 3 people, including an American. 2 of the attackers were shot and captured, while a search for the third is ongoing. The U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill tightening restrictions on the resettlement of Syrian and Iraqi refugees. Dozens of Democrats joined Republicans as the House passed the measure 289 for 137 in a rebuke to the White House. President Barack Obama said he would veto the legislation. The bill comes in the wake of the Paris attacks, which has been claimed by the Islamic State. After months in exile, Yemen's government opened a new foreign ministry in the city of Aden. The opening ceremony comes just 2 days after exiled President Mansour Hadi arrived in the city to rally forces loyal to him in the 8th civil war. The new office seeks to replace the ministry in the capital Sana'a, where Iran-backed Houthi forces remain in control. The Houthis rebels still retain control of much of Yemen despite almost daily air bombardment. Russia and Egypt signed an agreement for Russia to build a nuclear power plant in Egypt, with Russia extending a loan to Egypt to cover the cost of construction. Now, this will be Egypt's first nuclear power plant and is expected to be completed by 2022. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said that the project will involve the building of a third-generation plant with 4 reactors, adding the loan from Russia would be paid off over 35 years. And now a look at all the sporting news in Sports Beat. India played out a 2-all draw against Australia in the first hockey test of the 3-match series in Ranjanandgaon. Crack flicker VL Raghunath scored twice from penalty corners to put India ahead, but Australian Chris Ciriello converted the penalty corner in the 58th minute to make the score even. The second match of the series will be played in Rajpur on Sunday. Rohan Bopanna and Florin Mergia lost their final group game against Italians Simone Bolelli and Fabio Fognini at the ATP World Tour Finals. The 5th seeds Fognini Bolelli won 6-1, 1-6, 10-5. However, despite the defeat, the 8th seed Indo-Romanian pair finished top of the group, having won their first 2 matches. Novak Djokovic joined Roger Federer in the last 4 at the ATP World Tour Finals with victory over Thomas Berdych. The world number 1 required just 1 set to qualify and won his final group match 6-3, 7-5. He will now face Rafael Nadal in the semi-final. Earlier, Roger Federer maintained his 100% record in the tournament with a 7-5, 4-6, 6-4 win over Kei Nishikori. Spanish middle distance runner Marta Dominiquez has been stripped of her 2009 World Steeplechase title and given a 3-year doping ban. The 40-year-old was accused of doping in 2013 when abnormalities were found in her blood samples dating back to 2009. She was cleared by Spanish Athletics Federation. However, the decision was overturned on the appeal by IIAF. That's all in this edition of Breakfast News. News and updates continue. Thanks for watching.